Always starting with a bang. Hey, I'm your host, John Cavendish, and welcome to the Amazon Strategy Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets, and no magic pills, just real practical strategies to apply to your Amazon business and any business. Because today our guest is the amazing Nathan Hirsch. Nathan's a lifelong entrepreneur and currently CEO of Ecombalance, an outsource school. Nathan's best known for co-founding FreeUp.net, which I heard of when it was founded, so 2015, 2016, with an initial $5,000 investment, scaling it to $12 million in yearly revenue, which is super cool, before exiting in 2019, which is an amazing growth journey. So I'm super excited to chat to Nathan about that. He now leads Ecombalance, an online bookkeeping service for e-commerce and digital businesses and outsourcing school, teaching business owners how to hire effectively. Nathan's appeared on apparently 650 podcasts, so probably the most seasoned podcast guest we've ever had. And him and his wife, who I just learned is Vietnamese, like my wife, live in Denver, Colorado with their 2 dogs. So this episode is going to be a bit different from previous episodes because, everyone should be using bookkeeping. So I don't think I need to sell anyone the fact that you need a good bookkeeper and that, ecom bookkeeping is a very underserved space, I believe. So if you don't have a bookkeeper, go and check out Ecombalance anyway. Get on a call with them, see if they fit your business model and see what they do differently from your current bookkeeper. I mean, there's a good list of questions that probably Nathan can tell you should be asking any bookkeeper because most of them don't understand, accrual accounting, how you should be doing your projections, how you should be doing your accounting. So without further ado, let's welcome Nathan for an interesting conversation that may go in any direction whatsoever.
Hey,
welcome, Nathan.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here. Sorry, just doing some last minute sharing, trying to get it out there, but I really appreciate you having me on.
No, thanks for sharing. To be honest, I've been following you since we virtually connected and got you booked in for the podcast. And I love what you're doing on socials, and your marketing is excellent.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No, I mean, for sure. We're gonna take some lessons from what you share. So, tell us a little bit about your story. Were you in the Philippines when you started this, or were you?
No, I've actually only been to the Philippines once. A lot of people think that I go there all the time or whatever, and that wasn't until years into FreeUp. So I actually started off as a broke college kid. I was 20 years old. My parents had made me get jobs since I was 15, and I kind of learned very early in life that I hated working for other people, and I got a glimpse into what the real world was like after college, and I wanted no part of it. So when I got to college, I started just hustling, and the quickest thing was just buying and selling people's textbooks. I remember feeling ripped off when I went to sell my textbooks back at the end of the semester and got pennies on the dollar. And I started my own textbook business and I started marketing it. I had a little referral program. And before I knew it, there were lines outside my college dorm room of people trying to sell me their textbooks. And I was hiring people to go dorm to dorm buying textbooks. And I got a cease and desist letter from my school telling me to knock it off and stop stealing their business and stop competing with their bookstore. So that was my first glimpse into being an entrepreneur. And my parents were both teachers, so getting kicked out of college wouldn't have been too great. So I pivoted, and I had sold some of these books on Amazon. It was one of like 3 or 4 different places that I would sell these books on. And I had this Amazon seller account that I had created. And this was 2008, 2009. So no one really knew what Amazon was. Being an Amazon seller wasn't a real thing. It wasn't a real occupation. But I started just experimenting, like what else could I sell? And I remember going to like dumps and tag sales. And I was just finding objects and scanning them, things that weren't books, because books were pretty heavy and I only had so much room. And I was trying to find this other thing that I could sell. And I finally came up with the idea, what if I could partner with other people that made products? And I have this Amazon account and I'm starting to learn Amazon pretty well. And what if I just told them where to send the product and they could keep my payment method on file? I could charge whatever I wanted. And it was a win for them because it was another sales channel. And it was a win for me because I actually got product and fulfillment. So I started reaching out to different small retailers and building these relationships and eventually going around the retailers to these manufacturers. And before I knew it, I was selling hundreds of thousands, eventually millions of dollars out of my college dorm room. And I realized pretty quickly that I had to hire people. I couldn't do it all myself. So started hiring college kids. That was an absolute disaster. They were very unreliable. Outside of one person, Connor, my business partner, who I made my business partner a few years later, and I've been working with him on every venture since. But we had to find a way. I mean, I was 20. Hiring adults wasn't like a real option at the time. I probably could have done it, but I didn't think adults would take me seriously, and I didn't have college kids, and that led me to the wonderful world of virtual assistants that very well. And I ended up building a VA army for my Amazon business. That's what we called it, and they were doing everything from customer support to drop shipping, or to filling orders for drop shipping. And I didn't even know it was called drop shipping until years later. Like a lot of the terms and even the software didn't exist back then. And so we're growing this Amazon business. We're on top of the world, lots of success, lots of failure in there, which we can talk about. But we kind of saw the writing on the wall because we weren't selling our own products, and Amazon was getting harder and harder. There were more competitors. They were changing algorithms. So we never really had our own Amazon brand. For whatever reason, we didn't discover private label in time or whatever. And so what we did was we started leasing out these VAs to other Amazon sellers who were struggling to hire. And people would say, hey, I need a customer service rep or a graphic designer. And we had all these people that were not full-time with us, or some of them were seasonal. And we started to lease them out. And that became FreeUp, the marketplace that we created. And we scaled that over 4 years. We got to the point where we were doing about 12 million in sales. And we exited that at the end of 2019. And fast forwarding ahead, we can dig into that, I'm sure. But post-exit, there was a pandemic, which really impeded on my travel plans after we sold it. So that's when we launched Outsource School, a course teaching people our hiring process while we were stuck at home during the pandemic, and spent a few years brainstorming before coming up with the idea for Ecombalance, a monthly bookkeeping service that we've used in all our businesses. We've always had a great monthly processes for bookkeeping, and we want to kind of bring that to the e-commerce space. So that's kind of the short, long version of how I went from books to dropshipping to FreeUp to Outsource School to Ecombalance.
I love it. And it sounds like you like paved the way for like wholesale before wholesale, dropship before dropship was a thing. Like that's super, super cool. And like, I always think that it's the people that are like pre-curve before anything gets popular who make the real money. They get out and then everyone else gets in. Well, you were even before that. You were like, maybe an extra 10% would have been great. That's so good. It was so cool.
I mean, timing's everything, like you said. Like we got into Amazon at a phenomenal time. Even like VAs and freelancers, like that didn't really exist when we started FreeUp. There weren't all these Amazon agencies. There weren't all these service providers. It was a very new concept. There were a lot of people riding the Amazon wave trying to become sellers, but not very many people were servicing them. And I don't know if we're getting ahead of the bookkeeping space, but definitely a market we like, and we hope the timing's right there as well.
I mean, like we shared just before we got on this call, like I love the bookkeeping space. I think you guys are going to kill it. I mean, I think you guys can provide a better service than the competition. And I think bookkeeping is a super sticky service. I think you have to really screw it up for someone to leave you as a client. The complete opposite of, say, what Seller Candy does. If they have a slow month, people are considering leaving unless we have an amazing relationship. Your bookkeeper, as long as they do what they're supposed to do, stay out of your way, like a lot of people will just get it done, which is, I think, great as a service provider, as a business model.
Yeah, and hopefully we're bringing more of an entrepreneur mentality. I think from our research, like a lot of bookkeeping services, they don't know how to scale, or they don't know e-commerce, or they're good at bookkeeping, but they're not good at hiring and processes and all the stuff that you have to do as an entrepreneur. My business partner and I know that we're not bookkeepers. We know enough to be dangerous because we've done it in multiple businesses, but we know we have to hire great bookkeepers, and then we want to focus on the marketing, the processes, the retention, and the whole client experience.
I love it. So when you say 12 million revenue on FreeUp, is that like processed revenue of VAs on a monthly basis?
That's yearly basis. Yeah.
Yearly basis. Oh, sorry. Yearly basis. Yeah. So what was the model, if you don't mind me asking, for FreeUp? How did it work?
Yeah, so we used a marketplace model. So we would vet virtual assistants and freelancers, and even US freelancers. Our platform was about 40% Philippines, 40% US, 20% scattered around the world. That's when we sold it. I'm not sure what it is now. And so we would get hundreds, eventually thousands of applicants every single week. And we had a whole recruitment team that would put them through tests and interview them. And we'd look for skill, attitude, and communication, and that trifecta, and make sure they had lots of experienced freelancing because we weren't a marketplace for newbies. And then if they got in, they would get access to our software that started off as a minimum viable product that did very little and slowly grew over time. And they would get access to the job boards. And from our client side, they'd create a free account. And whenever they needed someone, they'd put in a quick request and we would match them up. And they would get to interview the person. They could negotiate with the freelancer. We would have our fee, which was 15% with a $2 minimum per hour. And you could do fixed pricing too at 15%. And so we would connect them. You'd hire them through the platform. We had a no turnover guarantee. If anyone quit, we'd cover all replacement costs. If any issues came up, we'd handle it quickly. We had a great customer service team, and that was the model. And it was all about build hours. I think when we sold it, we were doing 24,000 build hours a week or something along those lines, if I remember correctly. And then, so that was the model. And the beauty of that, like we were talking about before, is we never had to manage the freelancers. I would correct people over and over. Like, we're not training people. We're not managing people. We're looking for people that already have the skill. We're going to make sure they have it. We're going to vet them. We're going to be there if even the smallest thing goes wrong. And we're very quick to kick freelancers and VAs off the platform if they have any issues. But we're there to provide pre-vetted VAs and freelancers with the client managing it. And that was really the business we created.
I love it. And how big was your team when you sold the business?
Yeah. So here's the cool thing. We had no office, no US employees. We had a team of 30 VAs and the freelancers in the Philippines. But these were very high level VAs. Like they were doing sales calls. They were doing lead generation. They were doing customer service. They were doing bookkeeping. Like, they were running all aspects of the business. And yeah, we gave them $500,000 when we sold the company to our internal team to make sure they were taken care of and made sure that they kept their jobs and all of that. And the new owners have been great. They honored every single thing that they said they would. And that was probably the hardest part of selling it. And we're still in contact with them. They're a great group of people, and we couldn't have grown the business without it.
No, I agree. And that's like actually part of what we've been doing with Seller Candy is like, our vision is that, we treat people as people. I feel like some like bigger US companies who outsource the Philippines treat people a bit like, just machines. And, we try and treat people like people. And, really grow an amazing culture of the company. That's what we want out of Seller Candy.
Yeah, we want to treat them like owners. We want them to own the business, own the team, own their tasks, and look to build it, improve it, and feel pain when the thing isn't going well. Like, not physical pain, but just like care that much about what they're doing. And when things go well, we want them to be kind of a part of that as well. So it's when you build that right team, it's a game changer for businesses. And I don't think enough entrepreneurs understand that.
I love that. So how do you get that ownership mentality? Like, there's some like different people talk about different things. Like, there's the Alan Miltz, who talks about law of one and making sure that all of your employees know like what 1% churn or 1% price increase or 1% means to the business. Or what metrics do you share with the employees to give them like the feeling of ownership and the feeling of control?
Yeah, so it starts with vetting them for skill, attitude, and communication. We do the same thing. It's part of what we teach at Outsource School of our interview process. And we want someone who not only has the skills that we need, but has a great attitude to go with it. They don't just care about money. They like building. They like learning. They like reading books. They like being a part of something that's bigger than them, and has great communication skills. We can understand what they're saying. They can understand what we're saying. They can problem solve. They can communicate, and they like communicating with other people on the team. So that's kind of the basis, because if you don't have someone that has all three, if they only have 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3 or none, they're never going to get there, no matter what you do, no matter how much effort that you put in. And then once you have that, when you assign something, you make it very clear to them that, hey, this is what we've come up with so far. We want you to take it and make it better. And you look for those people that stand out, and we promote a lot from within. I think one thing that I've never mastered as an entrepreneur, although I'm sure better people can, is being able to like hire someone externally and put them in and make them a boss of someone of the internal people. We like to like have people prove themselves and know that there's an opportunity to advance if they do. And then the people around them kind of rally because they say people get people getting promoted, people taking on more responsibility and that feeds in. And I think the last piece, which is a big key, is just removing any cancers or bad apples as quickly as possible, because that spreads quicker than you can imagine. So we want to build a team of people that care, that have that attitude, that have that communication, obviously that have the skill and approve themselves, and that take ownership, that care about the company, that aren't going to sign off until stuff is done because they know that the company's theirs.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, I think it's amazing, isn't it? We talk to different business owners and how almost everything's the same, as you said before. You've done many different businesses, but in the back end, the way we treat people, the way we build it, the way we communicate the vision and hire good people, it's like, yeah, it's the same for every type of business, which I think is super, super cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things business owners can't get around, and that's hiring. If you don't know how to hire, it's very, very tough to be successful. And numbers. If you don't understand the financials of your business, very tough to make decisions. And it's two of the most unsexy parts of business. Everyone wants to focus on ads and marketing and brand and going on podcasts or whatever. But if you don't learn how to hire early on, and you don't know how to read income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, or make decisions based on what numbers are telling you, or just understand the numbers of your business, because everything's unique, very, very difficult to scale.
Yeah, I mean, totally true. Totally agree with that. So if everything's growing, everything's going so well, why did you end up selling? Or why did you and your business partner decide like, maybe it's time to move on?
Yeah, good question. So this was 2019, and we didn't go into 2019 being like, we got to unload this thing by the end of the year. We really loved the team. We loved the clients. The business was growing. It grew from $1 million in year 1 to 5 to 9 to 12, and we were going in the right direction. We were approached by one of our clients, the Hoth, Mark Hargrove and David Martin, and they essentially, their message to us was, hey, we love FreeUp. We use FreeUp. We want to get into the freelance space. We own a bunch of companies. They have a little conglomerate of businesses, and we don't want to start it ourselves. That's not what we do. We love to acquire it, and we love to see if you guys are open to it. So at the time, we didn't really know what to expect, and we heard them out, and they ended up asking us a lot of questions about our business. I remember being outside of a conference with Connor and answering their phone call, and they were asking pretty much all the numbers, and we were repeating back everything from number of clients to retention to margins to our business model, and they ended up coming back to us with an offer, and that was tough. I mean, it was game-changing money, obviously, but at the same time, that there were other factors. The economy was at an all-time high. So this is 2019, pre-pandemic. We didn't know what was on the horizon. We had never scaled a business past $12 million a year. So it's a business at 10 million is a different animal than business at 5, different than a business at 1. So for us to get to 25, there was going to have to be significant changes. Maybe we would have had to hire US people, or invest lots of money in the software, or whatever it is. And maybe we could have done it, but there was also a chance of failure. And we also had a whole team counting on us. And we knew that we were going to, if we did sell it, give a large amount of money to them. And we didn't want to take the risk on their behalf and screw it up for them. And also just timing. I mean, we had done the VA thing for a while. The temptation of being able to travel and take time off and brainstorm on a different idea was in there too, among other factors. So very tough decision. We ended up accepting it, and then due diligence began. And that was the most stressful 6 months of my life. They were sending over tons of questions to us. We were doing due diligence on them. We didn't want to sell the company to someone who was going to run into the ground or hurt our reputation or hurt our team or anything like that. And we couldn't have sold it to two better people. They're just quality human beings. Even with Ecombalance now, they're promoting us to their list with nothing in return, just as a favor to us. And that's just one super small example of ways that they've been great. And then even after the due diligence, that's when the lawyers got involved, and it wasn't their fault or our fault. But for us, it's the biggest moment of our life. For the lawyers, it's just another Tuesday. So they're taking time off. They're going at their pace. They have other clients. They're dotting every I and crossing the T and going back and forth. And it took till November to get the deal done. And even after we signed it, it was super emotional and just informing our team of the change. But super hard decision. I mean, looking back now, we couldn't be happier. We'd make that decision again. It worked out. But at the time, we didn't know if we were giving up our baby as a growing entity or selling it to good people or people that were going to mess it up or whatever.
Yeah. So what were some of the lessons that you took away from that sales process? I mean, for example, something like I've been through that before, and like having good legal professionals who you actually, you start out going, this guy's $400 an hour, this guy's $200 an hour. I'll save some money, but it's been the worst decision of my life doing stuff like that. So what were some takeaways that you took away from that?
Yeah, I mean, the accountants and lawyers were worth every penny. Definitely expensive, but great. They guided us through the process. They protected us. They made sure that we weren't going to end up in a lawsuit down the line, and that we got every penny and all of that. So that was great. Doing due diligence on the other business owner, that was a tip that we got early on that I think that I strongly recommend. Like, know who you're selling it to. Make sure you're selling it to someone with the same values. That's the best way to stay out of any kind of litigation or anything down the line, is to sell it to someone good who's going to treat it the same way. And I think knowing your numbers, I think one of the things that really helped us was on that initial phone call when we were going through our numbers, going through our business. We knew our business inside and out. We had a monthly finance meeting every month going back 3.5 years at that point. We had reports going back. We hired a bookkeeper from day one. Everything was immaculate. And when we finally turned over the books, everything we told them on that initial phone call matched everything in the books. And I think that built a lot of trust early on and made the process a lot smoother.
Cool. Awesome. So if you were going to do it all over again, I guess, like how was the journey between like you starting as an entrepreneur back in 2008 and you growing to this level and making sure everything's in line? What were some of the kind of the stepping stones and the rocks along the way, some of the inflection points? Because I feel like we're all here and we have these, like, obviously the good inflection points and the bad ones that kind of bring us to where we got to.
Yeah, sure. So my Amazon business, back in maybe the second or third year of it, we had finally gotten this thing on autopilot. Like we had one manufacturer that we were just crushing it with. They were doing like 97% of our sales or something like that. And we were getting hundreds of orders, some days topping 1,000. Sales were increasing. I had hired a manager that was doing a great job, and I'd spent 6 months training them to do everything. And I take my first vacation in a few years, and I go to Myrtle Beach with my business partner, and we leave the business in the hands of my manager. And it was the worst vacation I've ever been on. On the first day, my manager quit on me. This was a college kid, and his parents wanted him to focus on school. On that same day, that manufacturer contacted us and said that they were going to start selling on e-commerce, and they wanted to cut off the relationship. And just to top it off, I got a call from my accountant that someone had filed a fake tax return in my name and stolen $40,000 from the government, and I was going to have to deal with that when I got back. So I went from this like unbelievable high that where I had this business on autopilot, like making more money than any college kid should, to everything I just spent the last 2 years building was gone. I had to start from scratch. But it ended up being one of the biggest entrepreneur lessons for me, just about diversification. When we got back from vacation and went back to work, we started reaching out to tons of manufacturers. By the time we were done, we were working with 300 manufacturers, and the next time someone dropped us, it wasn't that big of a deal. And then we started hiring different teams in different departments. We'd hire a VA that would just do listing, a VA that would just do pricing. And the next person someone quit, not that big of a deal. And even when we got to FreeUp, we said, hey, we're not just going to provide VAs from the Philippines who do customer service. We're going to offer listing and PPC and all these different things. And when Amazon would change their algorithm, or when something would become in more demand or less demand or whatever it wasn't as big of a deal. And that was a lesson that we take to Ecombalance now. We like to diversify in our team. We diversify in the clients and whatever services you're offering. And that was a big lesson too, because if that hadn't happened, I would have just kept running the Amazon business with one manufacturer for as long as possible and would have missed out on kind of building our own brand. And that's kind of the second inflection point. Like, Amazon was fun. It was our first business, our first baby. We learned a lot, but at the end of the day, we were just drop shipping other people's products. We didn't grow our own brand. We were dependent on Amazon to give us clients and other people to build products and ship them. And when we started FreeUp, that was our first taste into marketing. We had to build a website. We had to learn SEO. We had to build a brand. We had to go on podcasts. I had to get comfortable speaking to other people in B2B, whether it's podcast or sales calls or whatever it is, post to Amazon where you kind of just hide behind your seller account. So that was a game changer for me personally. I think I learned that any business I start going forward is going to be B2B instead of B2C. But that kind of took us down a line of getting hopefully what I think is good at marketing and good at building the systems behind a B2B business that I never would have been able to experience if we had just stuck with Amazon and private label or gone that direction.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool. Like, I think so many of our listeners, like Amazon tends to be people's, well, can often be people's first business. You know, it's a cool model. You hear about it, especially people that started 2+, 3+ years ago. You know, you've scaled and it wasn't a very difficult business to get started. It's getting more and more difficult as time goes on, of course, as it gets more competitive. And then it's like the taste, isn't it? Like you start making real money, you start understanding how the world really works and meeting cool, interesting people like yourself and being like, wow, I don't need to operate in the same world as other people. So just a slight change of tact, I guess, like slight change of channel. You talk about your business partner. Like that sounds like, I don't know, like a deep relationship, you know, like more than almost like your marriage. So how's that been over your business career? How long have you guys been together?
Yeah, so it's been great. So Connor was the first person I hired in college, and it's funny. So he was in my business law class, and I had posted on Facebook that I was looking to hire people, and he shot me a message on Facebook saying, "Hey, I don't know what you do, but I'm looking for a job." And I said, "You're hired." I didn't even interview him. I didn't even know what an interview process was. And on his first day of work, he was supposed to come to my frat house, which is where I ran the company. And he messaged me like an hour before his shift. He's like, "By the way, I don't have a car. You have to come pick me up." So I'm like, who is this guy? And for some reason, I went and picked him up, and those car rides ended up being the best thing because we would just talk life and talk business and talk goals. And he expressed his passion for entrepreneurship and eventually the Amazon business. So he started off doing a lot of like QuickBooks and entering transactions, which was the worst job ever. And we at that point didn't really know how QuickBooks worked or anything like that. And eventually moved on to like orders and learning the different parts of the business. But when we sold FreeUp, he really took an interest in building websites and SEO and content creation. And he really learned a big part of that business. And we complement each other very well because I was very focused on the process side of recruiting freelancers and VAs and the client process and matching up the freelancers and the customer service behind it. And obviously going on podcasts and kind of being the face. So he's always been the kind of the secret weapon behind the scenes, doing a lot of the marketing and the content, and being a good culture fit too. I tend to be very fast paced, very intense, very up and down and pushing people. And he's more like the calm, cool, and collected that keeps everyone even keel. So I think it has a good balance, both personality wise, but also just skill wise. We have very different skill sets, but the key is we have the same values. We care a lot about customer experience. We care a lot about people. We want the same things every single day, and we hold each other accountable to it. But because we have different skill sets, we don't really step on each other's toes, and we're able to divide and conquer. So we've worked together on the Amazon business, on FreeUp. We still an outsource school together. We obviously run Ecombalance together, and partnerships are tough. I mean, I've seen a lot of horror stories. I'm fortunate enough to have a great partnership there. We did have a third business partner in our Amazon business that I'm still friends with, but that didn't work out from a business side. We just had very different mentalities on business. And I think for me, it's tough to take that risk again when we have something that's been working well so far. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, I love it. And I think what you touched on there about like him being the guy who came in and did the grunt work and was willing to do that is super important, isn't it? Like as the entrepreneur and the owner, we are not above doing anything in the business. And we have to be willing to do all of the worst work to be able to elevate ourselves to do the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you want someone that you can rely on and count on. And I mean, it's very easy to be a good business partner when things are going well. You find out whether you're good business partners when things aren't going well. And just being through that Myrtle Beach story, or when our software got hacked on FreeUp, or whatever down you want to pick from the past years, like that's where you prove that you're a good business partner. When you're scaling and growing and making money, it's very easy to work together.
Nice. And I think we should have another episode at some point where you come on and talk about SaaS and building SaaS, because I'd be super interested in that. And I'm sure a lot of Amazon business owners have the idea of like, I want to start this or I want to do that. So maybe we can dive into SaaS another time.
Yeah, sounds great.
So you talked about marketing and systems and like how you built up this marketing and systems. So I think a lot of people could take your insights from marketing systems and apply it to part of their Amazon business, because a lot of people just focus on PPC, SEO, Amazon SEO, and maybe Google Ads. So what's your secret sauce that you were willing to share about drumming up excitement for your new ventures when you start something new?
Yeah. So, I mean, it starts with market research. Like for Ecombalance, we have an article on our blog where we interviewed 200 e-commerce sellers, and we just reached out to them and we just asked pretty basic questions like, what's your bookkeeping setup? What competitors have you worked with in the space? Can you name any competitors in the space? What good experience have you had? What bad experience have you had? And what does your ideal solution look like? And we gathered all that data and we posted online for other people to see. And we then set out on a mission to hire our initial person. And so with FreeUp, we had some initial people from our Amazon business. With Ecombalance, nothing starts without a controller, a high-level US bookkeeper with tons and tons of experience. And we kind of set out on that journey to hire someone. And while we're doing that, we're starting to hopefully build a list and telling people what we're up to, and networking a little bit, and letting people know that once we get this off the ground, we're going to be offering something. So for us, it was 2 free months of bookkeeping. For other people, it can be something different, but we always want to be like, hey, if you're willing to be one of our beta clients and you're willing to put up with our growing pains, systems breaking, us figuring out the processes, if you're willing to do that and give us feedback and be a good sport about it, and treat it in a respectful way, we're going to hook you up with not only 2 free months, but good lifetime pricing. And we're going to use that to build out the experience and learn what we don't know, and just being very upfront and honest with people. So we start to build content around that message while also recruiting. And we were lucky enough to find Shelia. I don't even know how we did it, but somehow we found a fantastic person relatively quickly. Like, it could have taken us 2 years to find that person. But once we had that, we started opening up for that beta round and giving people the 2 free months, and really setting expectations so that no one was going to hate us or be mad at us if their books took too long. And along the way, starting to kind of document the journey. Like, hey, here are the next hires we're making. Here's the software we're building for the client portal. Here's what we thought the initial client process would be. For example, we thought every person had to hop on a phone with us to get business information, and we eventually realized people want to fill out a form instead. So just kind of keeping people updated on that process, and checking in with our beta clients throughout the process. What do they like? What do they hate? What do they think was inefficient? What do they see from other bookkeeping services? Also checking in with our team, because our team of bookkeepers, as we build them up, they had more experience working in bookkeeping companies than we did. So we want to hear what they liked, what they didn't like about other companies, how they set up their processes. And so that's kind of how we started it. And even to this day, we just document, like, if things go right, we tell people. If things go wrong, we tell people. We let people know whenever we're hiring someone, or make a hire, or improve a process, or launch a feature. And we try to just keep people updated along the way. And I think some people are scared of being embarrassed. Like, to me, if Ecombalance fails, which I hope it doesn't, and I'm doing everything possible that it doesn't, like, it'll be a lesson. It'll lead to something else. My life won't be over. But if it succeeds, we've kind of documented everything along the way, and hopefully we have people that have kind of followed that journey and built it from scratch. And that's kind of what happened with FreeUp. We said, hey, we have this crazy idea for a freelance marketplace. Here's our minimum viable software. Here's our first few hires. And every single month, we just told people what we were doing and how we were doing it, and the decisions we made and the lessons we learned. And people were nice enough to kind of join us for that ride.
I love it. That's super cool. And I think there's a lot of lessons that all of us can take away. I know I can take some lessons away from that with our business of like documenting and being more public with that information, because I think it's super cool, isn't it? People feel like they're on the inside, being able to follow you and say like, oh yeah, this is what happens and this is actually what I'm thinking. And yeah, not everything is perfect always.
Exactly.
So what's your goal with Ecombalance? What do you want to do?
I mean, our goal for any company we build is to build it bigger than our last company. So we want to get it big, over $12 million a year. We don't have goals to sell it or anything like that. I mean, we never really had that goal with FreeUp. We build the company to be sellable in the sense that we hire good people and build good processes. But I mean, first things first, we need a flawless client experience month over month that's repeatable, that's scalable, that people really like and people want to refer to their friends. And if we don't build that, then nothing else really matters. And if you build that, then you can put in the other pieces to accomplish goals. Whether it's number of clients, we want to get over 150 clients by the end of this year, 1,000 long term, or the revenue marker or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I don't know what my question was going to be there, but yeah, I think that's really, really cool. And yeah, I guess the model you're running this time, being that it's so different from the last model, does that change how you approach the business?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this business is a lot of it depends on behind the scene processes and automations that you can build to make your team better and make your team faster. And I think that's a lot of what it comes down with. I mean, you mentioned the pros of the model. I mean, it's a huge market. It's kind of like hiring. Everyone needs to hire. Whether you like it or not, you have to hire. Whether you like it or not, you need to do bookkeeping if you're a business. And it's just whether the entrepreneur learns that early on or not. It's sticky too. Like most people aren't trying to switch their bookkeepers every 6 months unless you give them a reason to. And it's kind of a core piece of the business. Like if a business has a bad month, normally they're not firing their bookkeeper. I think there's other good things that we found in our research, like other bookkeeping services aren't that great at marketing or SEO or stuff that us as entrepreneurs think about a lot more than the average bookkeeper. And I like to think there's an advantage, and we'll figure this out together, but of not actually being a bookkeeper myself. Like there's no situation where I'm going to stop what I'm doing and dig into the client's books and like try to hit a deadline. Like it requires Connor and I to hire really good people that we can rely on and trust to get stuff done so that we can focus on our lane. So there's a lot of aspects that we like about the company, and it's kind of on us to execute.
I love that. And I mean, there's so many other things we could dive into, but what's one thing that you'd like to leave from your journey, from your FreeUp journey, from your Ecombalance journey, that you'd like to kind of communicate to any of our listeners and watchers and people watching on the replays after now?
Yeah. So outside of market research and documenting our journey, one thing that we've done very well is just building a minimum viable product and minimum viable service and just trying to sell it before we do anything else, before we invest lots of time, before we invest a lot of money. FreeUp, we started with $5,000. We started off keeping track of our freelancer orders on a Google sheet, and people would email me their freelancer requests. And that was the business. And we had a few freelancers from our Amazon business. And if we gave those freelancers to clients and they didn't have a good experience, we were probably just going to shut the whole thing down and move it to something else. And even the Amazon business, when I had the idea of drop shipping, before I knew it was called drop shipping, I built a relationship. I listed the product on Amazon. The manufacturer shipped it to the client. And if that customer had left us a bad review or said they didn't get their product or whatever it is, I probably would have shut that down. But at that time, it was very low risk. I'd spent $25 on the product or a few products, and we tested it out. And with Outsource School, same thing. We launched a course. If people hated it, we were just going to refund everyone and move on to the next thing. And with Ecombalance, very, very similar. We hired a few bookkeepers. We tested it with beta clients. They had a good experience. So then we opened it up to other people. And it goes with the software too. I mean, with FreeUp, when we decided to build the software, it was, hey, what's the minimum features we need to be able to do? We need clients to be able to create an account. We need freelancers to be able to create an account. We need to be able to have the client see the freelancer's hours, and everything else we can do manually until we prove that clients actually like and use this software before we invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. And then we built it and we added features and we added a ticketing system. Same thing with Ecombalance. Right now, if you log into Ecombalance software, you can view your reports, you can add a payment method or change your payment method, you can view your affiliate money, and that's pretty much it. Like 3 very basic features, and we'll add features as people start using the software. So that's kind of how I like to approach business. I think one of the frustrations I had with Florida, I shouldn't say Florida in general. Well, my experience with the entrepreneurship community in Florida when I was there, and that's only the communities that I was in, is everyone was so focused on funding and raising money. And like, I can't do anything until I have $400,000. And it blows my mind. Like for me, it's get minimum viable product, prove that you can sell it, and then everything else will kind of follow after that.
Yeah, I totally identify with that. And I've been trying to learn more about that world as well at the same time. Same time as not understanding it, I want to learn more because it's crazy, isn't it? Like you meet people who are raising money on their pre-A or A round and their valuation is $12 million, $20 million, and their revenue is lower than ours. And it's like, it's all about the story. So I feel like there's some little bits that we can take away from that and be like, how can we pepper them in? Because yeah, it's just incredible the amount of valuations these people are getting for their businesses.
Yeah, and there's success stories like Chad Rubin of Scubana. Like he raised funding, and he's way more successful than me, and he ended up exiting his business for probably way more than I did, and that's great. For me, it's like I don't want to give up a piece of my company. I don't really want to have a boss or report to a boss or feel pressure that I'm going to bed every night wondering if I'm messing up someone else's investment or retirement savings or whatever it is. I kind of like running it this way, but I'm sure smarter people will disagree.
No, I totally agree. I mean, that's why I've never taken money because I don't want somebody saying like, you can only earn this much money from the business that you started and this has got this much money in the bank when you started out and now things are going better. It's like, yeah, we don't want to be dictated to when the reason we start business is freedom. Well,
right.
Speaking for myself. Thanks so much for sharing, Nathan. That's super amazing. And you've been my favorite guest thus far. Which I
appreciate it. Thanks.
But no, seriously, it's been really, really cool.
Nice.
That's a joke. But all right, we have two more sections actually, of the Amazon Strategist Show. The first one is our wheel. So we always want to give back to our watchers and listeners. So there's a link, which is either below this video. If you're watching live, it's below it if you're watching the recording, or it's in the description. And you can enter as for our competition. Every week we spin the wheel and then we reach out to someone who's entered to get a whatever they win on the wheel. So what is going this week? Nathan has very kindly put up 500 bookkeeping credits. That's $500, I believe, of bookkeeping credit, 2 months free bookkeeping, and $1,000 of bookkeeping credit, which will keep you going a very long time if you are a small seller and a while if you're a big seller. Cool. And on top of that, because we keep people on the wheel every time, and if you enter now, you have a chance to win ongoing. We have a campaign review and in-depth optimization from Amped, AMPD, who do Google Ads optimization from Amazon. We have a 1-hour free call with John Elder of Black Label Advisor. We have several subscriptions to refer us on if you're looking to do small micro influencer outreach for your Amazon business. We have a free business health check from Zon Guru. And we have some 20-minute calls with Daniel Fernandez of AMZ Clever. So you may win anything. Hopefully you win Nathan, but actually you may win any of these guys. So you may be connected to any one of these. And if you enter now, you can enter again and again and again over the next, as long as the show goes on, which I think will be many years. So let's load up the wheel, producer Vivian. What a smooth transition. That's very cool. All right. So, Nathan, all you have to do to get this going is say, spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel.
Need the countdown music.
Oh, nice.
So close.
Close.
Z, who was on our previous podcast episode, actually. They were on a previous podcast episode. You get a free consultation with Z about international expansion. So if you're looking to expand your Amazon business outside of your local market, usually from the US into Europe or US into Australia, they'll give you a consultation, help you work out the market size, the opportunities, and whether your products are compliant to expand into that market. Since we were so close, Nathan, do you want to do it again? Should we do another one?
Sure.
Let's do it again. Now, our producer Vivian's now panicking. Let's do it again. Wow, that was smooth again, Vivian. Smooth again. All right, spin it again.
Spin that wheel.
Yeah.
Zonguru.
Okay. Awesome.
Love those guys.
So, yeah, John's awesome, dude. So yeah, next one is the free business health check with Zonguru, where they will go through your listings and your account and point out basically where you have massive opportunities for improvement in your business. So yeah, congratulations. Enter below, and we will reach out to you within the next week, and we will then start announcing winners at the next podcast episode. So thank you so much for everyone that's entered already, and please do like and subscribe.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for your support, Nathan. We couldn't do it without you.
Of course.
So now we have the rapid fire questions. What happens in this section is you have 1 word answer and 1 second to answer the question.
Oh, all right.
It doesn't matter what the answer is. The funnier the better if we take the outtakes, so whatever you want to say, and we'll share with you the social clips afterwards.
Sounds good.
All right. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions? All right. Number 1, there's 8 questions. What's your favorite Amazon niche?
Baby products. That's where I started.
If you could choose no pictures or no reviews, which would you pick?
No reviews.
Name a country that starts with the letter E.
I don't even know. Man, I'm not good at geography.
Sorry, let's go for, I can't also think España.
Yeah, Spania's a good one. I don't even know if I know where that is on a map.
Which Amazon marketplace is the next big opportunity?
I think Amazon Canada. I don't know. We have a lot of Canadian clients signing up, so that's kind of where I see it.
Good one. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'll eat it.
Name something appealing about working from home.
From home, I don't know. I wear shorts and a t-shirt every day.
I love that. Organic sales or ad sales?
Organic. I have actually never mastered ad sales, only because FreeUp was kind of a weird model to do it, but it's something that we'll be looking at a lot for Ecombalance.
And name something you'd hate to find swimming around in your bathtub.
Fish. Really anything swimming around in my bathtub would be questionable.
Love it. Thank you, Nathan. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is coming towards the end of the show. Like, if you want people to reach out to you, connect with you, see what you're doing, what's the best way to stalk you online?
Yeah, connect with me on any social media channel. Love connecting with other entrepreneurs. And yeah, go to ecombalance.com. You can set up a call with me. You can submit a pricing form and get a quote. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks, Nathan. And yeah, so definitely go and check out Ecombalance if you're looking for a bookkeeper, if you hate your current bookkeeper, or if you don't have a bookkeeper, especially, like, you need it. And don't wait until your accounts are due in like 3 weeks' time, because either they'll charge you a lot of money or they'll say they can't do it, because it's very hard to go back and forth and get all the information needed in like 2 weeks. I've been there and it sucks. So also, if you're having any issues with your Amazon seller account, whether that's flat files, ongoing support, dealing with the Amazon BS that you don't want to deal with on a daily basis, go and check out sellercandy.com for the Seller Central experience you always wish you'd had. So thanks for being on. Oh, that's all right. We actually have question time. I forgot. And I have a question coming already. So sorry, a few more questions. Let's start the Q&A. Please do submit any Q&A questions. Question from Twitter. Is there a perfect time to hire a bookkeeping service?
Yeah, I mean, every business I've started, outside of the first one, which was a mistake, I've hired a bookkeeper from day one. Like do it right from the beginning. If you didn't have it from day one, the best time is right now. There's no point as an entrepreneur that you should be doing your own bookkeeping. It's not a good use of your time. And most people that do their own bookkeeping just have to pay to get it redone later. So hire someone who knows what they're doing from day one or as early as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And what are some tips to get it, if you're starting a business on a budget, what would some tips you have to get it done as cost effectively as possible when you're starting out?
Yeah, I mean, you can hire a freelance bookkeeper. You can hire a VA bookkeeper. It's one of those things you can always upgrade down the line. I mean, our monthly minimum starts at $249 a month. So, I mean, if you're a serious entrepreneur, I would argue that $249 a month is worth it to have your books done. But yeah, I mean, I kind of don't believe in the argument like I can't afford a bookkeeper because I'm starting off. It's like, hey, if you're serious about being an entrepreneur, you have to have a bookkeeper.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, because otherwise you get into trouble and you don't know why. Where's all the cash? Any more questions from anyone else watching? Thanks for pointing that out. Whoever asked the first question. Any more Q&A questions? We have one coming in from Twitter. Tips on finding and hiring quality talent. What tips do you have on finding and hiring quality talent?
Yeah, focus on skill, attitude, and communication. The biggest mistake people make is they only focus on skill. What talent does this person have? Make sure they have the right attitude. Make sure that they can communicate at a high level. If you find people that have all three, you're normally making a good hire, and that'll point you in the right direction. And if you want our exact interviewing and onboarding process, you can check out Outsource School.
I love that. And do you do like mission, vision, values? Or as well for your business, or is this like the communication and everything? Is that your part of mission, vision, values?
No, we do. We have culture meetings every single month where we go through a lot of that stuff, and we'll tell them about it during the hiring process. But what we're looking for during the interview process, that attitude, communication, and skill.
Cool. And then, just another question: Do you do the interviewing yourself personally?
So we have multiple rounds of interviews. The first interview is done by Anna, who is our HR person or whatever. And then it depends on the company, but for us, like we give them a bookkeeping test. And if they pass the test, then they'll meet with Connor and I. So we don't want to interview someone and then find out if they're good at bookkeeping. We'll test the skill first and then interview them.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, we have the same approach because there's so many applications. I guess you probably get the same thing. You advertise on all the platforms, you're getting 300 CVs and 5 to 10 quality people that you want to hire.
Right, potentially. Exactly.
Any more questions? Any more Q&As? Another one coming from someone on our team internally. What must business owners know and practice in order to recruit, train, and manage their own remote team?
Yeah, what do they practice? That's a good question. For me, it's a lot about setting expectations. So we always want anyone we hire to know what they're getting into, to not have any surprises. And we kind of talked about some of the other stuff, like we want to treat people well. And our goal is always to be their favorite client. If you're only competing on money, there's always someone out there that can pay your people more money than you can. So that can't be like your biggest driver or biggest attraction. For us, my goal is how can I be this person's favorite client? And if I can do that, and I can also hire people with the attitude, skill, and communication, that's how you lead to long-term relationships, because turnover is expensive. Turnover kills businesses. The last thing I want to do is make a good hire and invest time into them and have them walk out the door. And so then the question becomes, how do I become their favorite client? Whether it's perks like working remote or flexible schedule or small adjustments there, or is it having that really great culture that other companies don't have, or is it building that family that people want to stay a part of, or making them feel like an owner in their company? And that's why it's important that you hire people that want what you want, because if someone wants to just have a job to provide for their family versus they want to be a part of something, and you're trying to give people ownership, that's not going to work out. So that's where the setting expectations is very important.
Yeah, I love that about making you their favorite client. And I feel like there's some lessons that everyone could take away from that in terms of being a good employer or working with any service provider, like right. The better you can influence that service provider to make you their favorite client, the better they're going to do. because everyone has biases. Everything's run by human beings, and human beings are biased no matter what they say. We can put the best systems in place possible, but human beings are still biased if you're horrible and mean to them.
Right, exactly.
And we've had those experiences in the past. So, I mean, thanks so much for being on the show. I think there's any more questions come in. If not, this will be near the end of our live.
Awesome. I'm going to play a softball playoff game. Wish me luck.
Good luck. So I guess this brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you, Nathan, so much for joining us. And I really hope we can get you back in the future to talk about so many of the other things you've done, because I think it's super cool what you've achieved and what you're giving back by starting this business, because 100% we'll be referring clients to you because they need it. 100%. They really, really need it. And if you've enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, subscribe, click the follow button if you're watching this on any live platform anywhere. And thanks again. I'm John Cavendish. It's Nathan Hirsch. And thank you for watching the Amazon Strategist Show.
Thanks.